Did you touch my fish?
Wade, you're dead. You're
I
dead,
think
Wade.
he
Wade, you're
touched-
dead.
It's an evil thought coming from an evil place and an evil mind. You have to get rid of the evil. You have to do something with the evil. And so you try. You know, and you try to transfer that evil on to a wholesome creature like my fish. Call it black coffee. Always spilling. A lot of mess, clean up. A lot of mess, clean up, being a janitor. And then you gotta clean the fish. Gotta clean the fish before you can eat them. Can't eat no dirty fish. Think my fish knows. That's why he's looking at me like that. Fish, fish, telling me what to do.
Hello and welcome to Black Coffee. Today we are proud to have Master G with us. How are you today, Master G?
Hello, how are you?
Master G is going to explain for us some of the mysteries of the occult. Why is the spiritual side of life important? Why should we look towards that and develop that aspect of ourselves?
Well, the spiritual side's important because it's like a foundation to a house. Without the spiritual side, man gravitating towards his true self, he falls down. Everything he does just goes around in a circle of confusion. Because if you don't know who and what you are, then what good is life? You just go around chasing desires. And the spiritual philosophy teaches that man is more than the flesh. That man is more than the flesh. So why should he act like the flesh? That man is bestowed to a higher reality than just the material world. The dreams I have, I'm usually in contact with the higher states of consciousness. I talk to beings beyond this physical plane, and they reveal things to me. And if people would want to get more into their dreams, I would say that they should keep a diary of their dreams, write them down every time they occur, or tape them, whatever. You know, and if they would practice being conscious more in everyday life, then their dream life would grow. We don't remember our dreams usually because we don't remember ourselves doing a certain thing while we're awake. So if we go into rituals of practicing consciousness.
What do dreams reveal about ourselves? How are they linked into the mind? What purpose do they serve?
Well, dreams are actually not coming from the mind. Dreams are coming from a higher reality, okay? And then when we become more pure, okay, a lot of dreams are like an intermingling of our emotions, our lower emotions. But once we get beyond the mesmerizations of our own emotions, then we reach what we call the transcendental light. Then you realize that the things that you're dreaming of, you didn't create. They don't come out of your own mind, but they come out of the higher mind, which we call God.
Once you go beyond your own ego, then you start to see the higher truth in your dreams. It's a reflection.
Absolutely, right. Because a lot of us, we mesmerize ourselves. We become worshipers of ourselves, and we get trapped in this glamorization inside. See?
One thing,
See?
One thing you were explaining to me was the difference between someone who takes or energizes their power through the sun and someone who does it through a negative vampiric moon cycle.
Yeah.
Now, how does that happen?
Well, what we are talking about are two sides of occultism, how people use the force. And this force that we use in occultism is all neutral. Depends on what you meditate into it is what it becomes. Okay? So let's just say the forces of nature are neutral to man's will. Whatever he does with them is how they're going to react on him. So we talked about the forces, the higher occultists, which I am a Hermetic priest, we use the force that regenerates itself. And it has the power to regenerate planet Earth as well as expand the consciousness of all humanity. Why people that are hankering to manipulate things by magic, by they want something and they want to control somebody, or they're hankering for desires in the outer world.
That's not the purpose of magic.
That is not the purpose. The true purpose of magic is to regenerate the human consciousness. Man has already misused his desire force. And now a lot of people that do these manipulative rituals to control other people are actually fooling around with vampiric forces.
What can happen to them? Is something negative going to happen to them down the road?
Well, what happens is usually when you create a boon with a spirit, okay?
That's a link between you and the spirit?
Right, well, like you owe it something. You give it something and it gives something back to you. That's called a boon.
Okay.
Okay? So once you do that, you know, and they deliver the goods, chances are, if you keep doing this, depending on magic through these entities, especially lower entities, if you keep doing this, then chances are after death you can get trapped in the inner worlds by these dark entities. Otherwise you serve them. So it turns around.
You mentioned earlier you're a member of an organization which is called the...
Well, I'm a UDGD. It's called a Universal Development Group.
And what is the purpose of this?
Oh, to help mankind become more than what he is, to help him expand his consciousness. And we do classes in meditation, high meditation, do classes in yoga, and we do tapes and courses in the mail.
Is that where someone should begin if they're interested? Should they begin with meditation and classes? Should it be something they read about or go out and do? Should they find a teacher?
Well, you always should find a teacher simply because a lot of times when you read a book, you're just reading your own mind. You can't get beyond your own ego, see? But the master helps you get beyond your own ego. So a lot of us, what I'm saying is we twist things. We only want to hear what we want to hear and see what we want to see. But a true master comes in and he changes us. He transforms us from our dark selves. So you know you have a true master when he teaches you how to be on your own. True masters make you independent. They don't want you to follow them. Okay, they want you to become disciplined so once more you can enter the higher reality and remember the world from which you came. Man suffers now in our material world because he forgets who and what he is. And he serves the outer world of its illusions, and he tries to chase desires.
No.
But desire, you know, you have to like ignoble it.
I see. You have to make your desire, you have to desire what's good for you instead of desiring frivolous things or things that are detrimental to you.
Exactly.
One point I wanted to make clear is the difference between what we're talking about in Satanism or perhaps Wicca. What's the difference between what you're talking about, the higher consciousness and philosophy,
Well,
and that aspect of the occult?
okay, now Satanism doesn't have to refer to a being called Satan that you believe in, or if you give yourself to. Satanism to me is more than a belief, it's a principle, what man follows. When men get in tune with the illusion of creation and forget about the Creator, it doesn't matter what they call it, they're following the principles of Satan.
So the purpose of Satanism is to advance yourself in the material world instead of the spiritual world.
To worship, well, to worship your own ego. Now, also we've got to be careful what we say there, because we can also advance in the material world as well as advance in the spiritual world. But what Satanism does, he isolates his ego. He thinks that he's the most important thing on planet Earth. And he only lives to squander other people's energy. He only lives to exploit. Okay? Otherwise, he's after the material world and its power. Doesn't matter what price it may cause him. And when he's dead, he believes he's just dead. He just dies. So basically, Satanism is actually an atheistic philosophy and teaches that man's his own God. And this is how man becomes corrupt.
Okay. Now, how does the mythology of when you look back and you see the similarity of the creation myths, man falling, the serpent and the apple, you see a similarity in a lot of the myths. Does this have any basis in fact? This
Well,
the myths that we encounter?
you have to go into the ancient symbol of Ouroboros, and Ouroboros is the snake that swallows its tail. Everything in creation is created by this universal creative energy. Okay? When this creative energy expresses in the lower centers, we call it sex. Okay? We become identified with sex. Okay? But we can actually ignoble, should I say, the bestial side within us. We can ignoble this energy. We can transform it in yoga, what we call the higher centers. And then it's no longer sexual. It becomes love, especially when it comes into this region here, the heart, anahata. And then if it comes here, Vasudha, which is another higher center, which is the throat chakra, then we are able to actually listen to God's voice, the sound, the word that made the worlds. So basically what these biblical myths are talking about is our sexual energy and how we've misused it.
Is there an advantage to to being celibate, to cultivating that sexual energy?
Yeah, because when you're celibate, your animal magnetism builds up, and it creates a light of protection that radiates outside your body. The ancients call it the auric energy field. Also, you'll notice that your thought forms become more clear, and it's very important to make clear mental thoughts in the occult, because if you don't have clear thoughts, you won't be able to control your subconscious forces, direct them. So the more celibate you are, the more you can project this energy out towards other things.
Is your philosophy incompatible with Christianity or any other major religion? Does it go beyond them?
Well, I don't see how you can really go beyond Christianity, because Christianity, the true teachings of Christianity teach you that there is a creator who loves you, okay? And it's much more than just Orthodox religion, where you just go to church and read a Bible. But true Christianity, like the cross and the altar, they symbolize things that we should sacrifice inside ourselves in order to attain the higher consciousness. So Christ becomes a representation of what we all are within ourselves. And we only follow Christ not because we worship his personality or turn him into a personality occult, but we only follow him when we treat our fellow man as we'd like to be treated. 2 days ago, I really had a bad accident with my back. I was swimming in the Gulf of Mexico, which was Florida. I didn't make it. Okay, they pulled me out. They say she should be brain dead. It took them a half hour to revive me. So I know that's not true. But meanwhile, while this is going on, I'm taught that long ago, I wrestled with an angel that I didn't want to come down into the material reality. I was afraid of the material world. And I didn't, you know, but they told me I'd come down for a mission to teach man, and this is what they've actually told me. And I can just tell you that when we die, depending on how we live, not what we believe or what we've been conditioned to believe, is where we go when we die. Because according to how we're living now, he's putting impressions in the soul, and our virtues or vices will determine what type of robe of light after death we wear. You understand?
So
you just learn to think everything here is for your pleasure. You have no regards for it. You have no love. You have no sensitivity for it. And so here you are. You become intellectual monsters. And you don't realize that there's a whole consciousness out there that's way beyond you. And this consciousness is never going to show itself to man's mind until man regenerates himself, until man straightens up. Because no man on earth created morality. That comes from the Creator's mind. That has to do with the forces of nature in balance. And when you transgress the natural laws of nature, that's called sin.
So in
man will only become mature when he takes this creative energy that has slipped down into the lower centers that cause these false urges and these desires. When he takes this creative energy and he transforms it to the higher centers, then once again, man will no longer fear death, for he'll know that death does not exist.
Okay. You've had some very fascinating things to say. I appreciate you coming here today. It's been
You're
wonderful
welcome.
having you.
Thank you.
Okay. And did you want to go over anything?